and I launched our store a few weeks ago.
Okay. What's it called?
It's called Break Your Loop,
Okay.
and the product is loops.
Okay.
So it's loops bracelets, which I have on. They're super cute.
Right.
So I'm in the process of scheduling out what those things are going to be, what those events are going to be, who I want to talk to,
Right.
and who I want to share with.
Right.
You're my first.
Okay, let's go.
So thank you.
Awesome. Absolutely. No, it's exciting to have you here. So what got you into all this? Like what started you on the path?
Oh gosh, there's so many different things that have led me to this point of where I'm at. And first and foremost, I will say it is a journey, right? And I am nowhere near the end of my journey, at least I hope, right? God willing, I'm still going forward. But specifically, this product and why I got into this was because in December of last year, I had back surgery.
Okay.
And so I'm a big fitness person. I seem to want to lift more weight than I should. And so I was an ex-CrossFitter, and I used to lift a ton of weight.
That's what the problem is. There we found, now I know why you got back problems.
So yes, my CrossFit days where, I'm a little bit of an older woman. We won't say how old. But I would try to compete with all the 20-year-olds, right? Most of the time I beat them, by the way.
Yeah,
so, but.
I'm right in the same boat with you.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah. So I would double my weight. I would do all these kinds of different things, right? And so I had a back injury from like 5 years ago, and I ignored it. I kept lifting. I kept going. My doctors were like, you need to stop CrossFitting. So I did stop CrossFitting, but I just would still lift.
Right.
So finally, it kind of just took its toll. And so in December of last year, I literally just couldn't move anymore.
Really?
I couldn't put on my shoes.
You had herniated discs? Or?
It was 2 herniated discs in my lower back, and it was affecting my sciatic at this point.
I have literally the exact same.
Really?
Literally the exact same.
Did you have
thing.
surgery?
No. Mine stems from the military, and I've heard too many horror stories on letting them cut on your back. And really, every person that I personally know that has gotten surgery was worse off afterwards.
I've heard the same things, but Shawn, I was in so much pain. I was literally. The simple act of putting on your shoe.
Oh, I get it.
I was crying.
Yeah.
I have 2 daughters. I have 2 puppies, right? Like I couldn't bend.
Yeah.
I couldn't take anymore. I went to a bunch of doctors. I did a bunch of research. And like you, it was like the success rate is not so great. Right. But I was at the point that what kind of quality of life am I going to have right now? And I'm so used to being moving and fitness and everything else. I was in a bad place. So I said, okay, let's do it. And so I went in and had the surgery.
Okay.
That was December 7th. It was about a 6 to 8 week recovery. And it was a microdiscectomy. They're like, oh, you're in and out. And literally, they do it outpatient nowadays, which is insane.
Did they put in the new kind of discs, or what did they do for the surgery?
They just fused it. They didn't fuse it. I'm sorry. They just cut it off.
Okay.
So the disc that's sticking out and protruding and affecting my sciatic, they go in and just.
Okay.
They even showed me a picture of it if you ever want to see it.
All right.
It's gross.
No, you gotta send it to us. We'll edit it right in here at this point. That's perfect.
So gross. And so anyway, so it was a 6-week recovery period, and I had an amazing doctor who was super conservative, which is why I chose him. And he pretty much told me for 3 to 4 weeks, I don't want you to move. I want you to lay on that couch. Do not bend. Do not do this. I had this crazy contraption on. So I did. I listened, because I wanted to get better. And I laid on the couch for weeks, staring at the ceiling, bored out of my mind. And that's really the inception of loops. So I'm one of these people that's always looking to better myself, right? There's always something I want to be doing. I make a list for a list. What can I do? What can I achieve? How do I track that achievement, right? And I started looking. I was like, I want something outside of my calendar, or outside of creating a list, or outside of my app, right, that I can actually track my goal.
Yeah.
At the time, my goal was to stop drinking wine. It's another story. I have a whole other problem with that. We can talk about that too.
Right. That's one of the main topics of this podcast, so you're in the right place.
Yeah. So at that moment, it was like, okay, I can't lift, I can't work out, I can't do anything. My go-to would be to go to wine, right? Because it helps relax me, right? And so I'm like, well, I can't be drinking wine and not working out and lay on the couch for 6 weeks. It's not good for me, right? So let me try to stop. And so I was like, I want something to help motivate me to do that. So I started searching the internet and kind of looking to see what can I buy, right? I bought a lot of crap off of Amazon, as you can imagine,
Right.
off of 6 weeks. What can I use
It's called
to help
what?
me?
Retail therapy, right?
That's right.
Right.
That's right. What can I use to actually help me achieve my goal? I couldn't find anything. And I like jewelry, obviously. I like to wear jewelry. I'm a girl's girl. And so I started just kind of thinking, and that's really where this concept evolved, right? And so I started doing all this research on all these different materials. There was nothing there. So I created one. I scoured the internet for products. Got a bunch of different products, and I ended up with what we have today.
Okay.
These are actually guitar strings
All right.
that are stretchy.
Really?
Yeah, and so they kind of just go on your wrist. And the goal was to have something that I could put on every day that would remind me of my goal, but also give me a little reward and an achievement of that goal, and kind of create that new habit that I'm hoping to create. So that's really where it stemmed from. I wore it for a little while, and I saw the benefits of it, and
And so I see there's little pendants on it with numbers in there. So how's that helping you track with what you're talking about, and what do the numbers mean?
Yeah, so we experimented with so many different things, and nobody wants to wear 120 bracelets, right? That's too much. And all the research that I did around habits and creating habits and changing habits, right? They say 21 days it takes to make. That's not. That is not real. Do not believe the hype. Really, some of the research that I found is that it took 66 days on average to create a habit. And that depends on you, right? It depends on your circumstances, it depends on your goal, it depends on how long you've had a habit, if you're trying to break it, whatever it may be. So I was like, okay, let's do a 30-day kit, because to me, 30 bracelets are super thin, they're tiny, right? They're not weighing you down, is enough. And then when you get to a certain milestone, like a 30-day milestone or whatever,
okay.
You will then put on your 30-day one. You take off all the singles, you put on your 30, and then you keep stacking. So for example, this one that I have on, this actually has a 90 on it.
Okay.
And this is my meditation loop.
Gotcha.
That I've been on for the last 90 days, which has been life-changing and amazing. And then I keep adding. Now, I could have stopped at 90, but I just keep going.
Right.
So it's got these little milestones along the way, and it's a 90-day
So you're tracking
kit.
multiple things with your bracelets.
I am.
Okay.
I have 2 on.
Let's go. I like it.
So this one, back to my main struggle, the wine. So I'm on day 35.
Okay.
If you can see, I do have a couple of black ones in here for when I stumbled and fell to my sin,
Right.
which is what I like to call it, because I want to extend myself a little bit of grace too. Part of creating a new habit, it's not going to be easy,
Right.
and it's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
And it's okay. You just got to keep going, and you got to keep trying. So that's what this one is. Yeah.
So with your journey as far as the wine goes, if you don't mind me asking, and I don't want to pry or anything like that, but I'm in 7 years sober from heroin. Went all the way in the deep end with the drugs and alcohol. So with your journey, is this just something you're just trying to be healthier and dial back? Is it something that you kind of feel you were having a problem with that you want to stop completely, or what's that look like for you?
So
and I'm only asking because a lot of our listeners are in recovery, so I just want the picture to be clear.
No, absolutely. I think that for me, I don't feel like I have a problem with alcohol, but I do think that it hinders my goals.
Yeah.
I do think that it hinders where I want to be in life. And what I found out, right, so part of my entire journey and kind of going through this and the alcohol being a part of it was that I needed to figure out why I wanted to drink wine every night, right? What is going on that I need this in my life?
Right.
So in my last, 3 or 4 months that I've been doing all this meditation and prayer, I've really been spending a lot of time in that sector of my brain. And so I realized going back, it actually started back during COVID.
Okay.
COVID is really where I picked up this really, what I call a bad habit. And what ended up happening was in my brain, I'm trying to figure out, well, what's triggering me, right? And what's creating this habit for me? What's triggering that, right? Because you have to identify the trigger before you can actually figure out how to change it, right? And change that trigger. Well, what I figured out is the trigger was, I had a great day. I want some wine.
Right. You want a reward?
I had a shitty day. I need some wine.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was like, wait a minute, like, what is going on here? So that's really what I know in my head, is that it's not good for me to achieve my goals. It does not help with my anxiety. It makes me lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm not a lazy person.
Right.
And so that's really where all this comes from. And of course, my fitness goals, right?
Yeah.
I know that it definitely hinders that.
Right.
I feel so much better when I don't drink.
Yeah.
But yet I still continuously do it.
Yeah.
Why? Why? Tell me why. Do you know why?
That's the $1 million question. In our world, the whole goal is to get to the root cause. What was the original thing that made me want to pick up drugs and alcohol? And, there's so many things go into it with, trauma. There was trauma I had that I didn't realize was trauma and all that. And really, it was just, at the end of the day, it was me just trying to be comfortable with who I am. Come to terms with who I am, why I am the way I am. And then, luckily through my journey, as when I discovered fitness and I discovered running, it put me back in touch with who I was as a person, who I am at my best and all that. And so that's when I became okay with, all right, this is who I am. This is how I have to operate and stuff like that. So that's what it was for me. But it's awesome that you're able to identify that and make the correction and do it in a way like, in a lot of ways, you're using a lot of the principles we use in recovery. You're using your experience to help others. And that's the big thing, is when I can take my experience and use it to help people, that's what helps me the most.
That's absolutely right. So this journey started with myself, but as I kind of saw how it was helping me, I gave a set to my daughter, I gave a set to some of my friends. As I saw how it was helping them, I was like, wait a minute, like, this can help other people. It can help other women. How can I expand beyond that, right? And one of the things that, for me personally, I've been very successful in my life. I really, really have. God has blessed me, and I am grateful 100%. I had a great career, top level executive in technology, doing software design, and I love it. It's a great thing. But my purpose is missing.
Right.
And so you asked me what my journey is. That is my journey. Yeah. I am on a journey of reclaiming my purpose. And I believe 100% that my purpose is helping others. Yeah. My purpose is specifically helping other women. I really do believe that as women, we don't fulfill our potential. And we're so amazing. We're so great. I mean, not to say men aren't, because they are as well.
Right. Just in a different way.
In a different way. And I don't think that we give ourselves credit, right? And we don't actually end up achieving a lot of the things that we want to be doing. So this is a way of me being able to help support those other women to achieve those goals.
That's awesome. That's really great. Are you from up north originally?
No, I'm actually from Puerto Rico.
Really? You got a little bit of a New York twang.
Everybody asks me if I'm from New York.
It's got to be the Puerto Rico, right?
I think there's just so many Puerto Ricans there, that we've kind of taken over, New Yorkers.
Right.
So, but yes, all the time. Are you from New York or Jersey?
Right.
I get that.
That's what I would have thought. So, with your back injury, I go back to mine, and it was one of the most difficult times of my entire life. Mine was in the military, and so immediately I had people looking at me like I'm faking an injury because they can't see it. They see how I'm hobbling around, but they can't see the actual injury. And I just remember it being like the most helpless, lonely feeling of my life. It just felt like I was isolated from everything. I can't do the things I want to do. And then nobody knows what it's like, sitting there laying in bed when your hips throbbing, your knees throbbing because it's shooting down with the sciatic nerve. It's horrible pain. It's no way to live. Anybody that's had that sciatic nerve pain knows what I'm talking about. But going back to that, when this originally happened to you, like what did that do to your mental state? Because I can only imagine if that happened to me now, being working out every day, someone just takes that away from you. That could be like
I'll tell you, Shawn, it's not over.
Right.
I'll never be the way that I was. I'm 90%, 95% without pain, but I still will always have pain.
Yeah.
And I even struggle at the gym. I don't work out with my friends the way that I used to. It just happened last week, right? To where in the middle of a workout, I'm like, I can't. I got to stop because I've got to be smart, right? I don't want to end up back in surgery.
Right.
So I'll never be the same person that I was, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Because it has changed me in ways that I cannot even imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about mentally. I'm talking about spiritually, right? Things that mean way more than that mobility. I mean, I wish I had both, but
Right.
you know.
Well, no, that's a great message, because so many people get hit with this adversity in life, or something bad happens. And I mean, you're an average gym goer, you know it. You'll see somebody that's just getting going in the gym, and then they go on a vacation, or they have a little injury or something like that, and then they just completely stop.
Mm-hmm.
You, with some experience in all this, reached that adversity, but then found ways that you could persevere through it and flourish afterwards and stuff like that. So like, what in you sparked that, you think? Like, what gave you that made you want to start pushing through it, as opposed to just calling it quits?
I honestly don't know what's in me. I've always been like that since I was a little girl. I'm one of these people that, you know, you hit me, I'm going to come back up swinging. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of my mentality. But in this perspective, what's changed for me has been my meditation. Meditation has been a huge part of my journey. I realized also that even though I'm very strong-minded, I leaned a lot towards negativity. Mm-hmm. Right? And I don't know if you know the statistic, about 90% of the communication we have in a day is internal. Okay, 10% is with other folks.
Okay.
90% is within your own head.
All right.
Right? You have a lot of messages and incoming information, but you're processing it and you're talking to yourself. Mm-hmm. And if you ever stop and really think, really honestly think about what you're thinking about, you'll be amazed.
Yeah.
You will be amazed. Even at the gym, that's heavy weight. Mm-hmm. Fuck yeah, it's heavy weight. But if you think it's heavy, you're never going to lift it.
Right.
Right? Think it's light. Right? And your mind is so powerful. It really, really is. And that is the one thing that I have learned the most throughout this journey, is your mindset is everything.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's okay that my back's hurt. It's okay, because there's other things, and I still have my mind. I have my kids. I mean, there's so many things that I have to be grateful for. Mm-hmm. How do I use that now to help other people?
Right.
That's really what it all comes down to.
Right. What led you into meditation? Was that always a practice you had, or just something you got into?
No, I've never meditated in my life.
I'm horrible at it.
I was horrible at it too. I mean, my brain is like thinking about what I'm thinking about when I'm thinking about it, right? Like, it's like, this loop in your own brain. And so being still is really, really hard. It drives my kids insane. They're like, Mom, please sit down. I'm like, why can't you just sit there? So I think this journey that I've been on through the back injury, and then leaving my job. I left my job in April. Leaving my job and everything like that left me in a place of, okay, what's next? Mm-hmm. What's next for Meliza? Where am I going to go? What am I going to do? Where do I really want to expend my energy? And I've always prayed, right? I'm a believer. I have a relationship with God. But I've never spent time inside my own brain.
It's crazy that you're saying this. Please continue, but I got something for you.
Okay. So that's really where I went. And I'll tell you, the first few weeks were hard, really, really hard to like sit and be still. Thank God there's so many tools now out there, right? Like all the YouTube and, you know, everything's free.
Yeah.
You don't even have to pay for it. Yep. You know, literally just put on your headphones, find a place, close the door, go in the closet, whatever you need to do. And just let it guide you through it.
Yeah.
You don't have to, it doesn't have to be hard. It can be simple. And through that, I have learned to really calm my mind. It has helped my anxiety tremendously.
Recently in my life, these past couple of months, I've been feeling a pull back towards God and back towards the church. And so got back involved, and I really there was a particular sermon not long ago that the pastor was given, and it was on like the importance of prayer. And so I really have made a very diligent effort at praying every day. And so I have my little routine down, and I have my little pray app, and every time I get in my truck, I hit the pray app, and it says a prayer, and then I'll say the prayer back and all that stuff. And one thing the whole point of the sermon was that it was like, if people know how to pray and stuff like that. And so it made me start thinking, I was like, do I even know how to pray?
Yes, you do.
And so then I would get in there and I would start praying, but then it was me just talking to God the whole time. And so what you're sitting there saying about quieting your head, I was like, man, all I do is talk to God, but I don't ever listen. And so then I stopped. I'll listen to the prayer. I'll say the prayer back, and then I'll just be silent for if I'm on my way to the gym or on my way here or wherever I'm going, and I'll just be silent. So as I sit here and tell you I'm horrible at meditation, I don't think I've even realized, but that's kind of like what I've been doing is just trying. I'll say the prayer and then just be quiet. And
it's so hard too, because you're like, okay, let me just listen, but then all of a sudden you're thinking about what you have to do. And you got to
keep centering yourself.
Yes, and you have to. So what I've been doing, what it's been working for me is my breath. Right, that's kind of helps me recenter. As soon as I veer away, okay, focus back on my breath. Focus back on my breath, and just the breathing in and out. It's just very simple. There's not complicated.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think for me, prayer is something that's been a part of my life since I was, in my 20s.
Yeah.
Which is really when I devoted myself to God. I've fluctuated in and out of that, obviously, throughout my life. But I do it on a regular basis, right? Like I talk to God all the time, but do I listen to God? And am I following His path?
Right.
That's a different story.
Or I'll listen and I'll get the answer, but it's not the answer I want. So then I'm like, did I really hear that, or am I just making that up in my head? But
I think
it's a journey.
That's the hardest struggle for where I'm at right now. To be perfectly honest with you, is I don't know where my journey is going.
Right.
And so being okay with that.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I get it. I had somebody recently ask me what my 5 and my 10-year plan was, and at first I felt guilty because I'm like, oh, I don't have one. But then I started thinking about it, and for me, what I know is if I set that 5-year goal, as soon as I do that, my life changed when I kind of took my hands off the wheel and just all I do is focus on is just putting good energy out in the world and trying to help people. And all I know is I keep doing that, good things keep happening. But then if I set that 5-year plan for myself, that's where I kind of put my hands back on the wheel and like try to make it get there. And that's where things go bad for me. And so just being able to sit back and like have that faith or whatever and know like, all right, I'm just focused. All I know is good things keep happening. And so I'm not leaving with what got me to the dance. I'm going to keep doing it. So
that's great.
I'm sure that's probably the similar path that you're on, and organic ways have led you here today and are going to keep leading you. So.
Yeah, I mean, as being a person that's used to control and kind of achieving all my things and having my goals and my lists and everything like that, this is definitely the most growth I've done in the shortest amount of time in my life.
Really?
Yeah, and I have to be okay with not being okay, and I have to be okay with not knowing what the end is.
Right.
And it's scary, but at the same time, it's exciting.
It is exciting. And
I feel empowered. I 100% feel empowered, right? I don't know what the future holds, but I'll tell you this. I mentioned I have 2 daughters, and I'm the single provider for them. Yeah. I'm it, right? They don't have anything else. One's in college, one's 13.
Okay.
God help me. And when I kind of set off on this journey, I sat them down, and I was like, girls, Mom's I'm at a crossroads. I know you guys are used to having all these things and doing all these nice things and everything like that, but I need to find my purpose. And I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, right? And when I did that, I thought they were going to be upset and they were going to, freak out. Oh, we can't buy this, or we can't do this, or we can't, whatever it may be. And the girls were both so proud of me. And they literally, the older one specifically, was like, Mom, I know you're going to do great no matter what it is that you do, because you always have, right? And that was everything. Yeah. That was everything. So if you have a support around you, it's so important that you have that support. And whatever it is you're trying to achieve, whatever goal it is you have, whatever adversity you're going through, it is so important to surround yourself with like-minded people, people who really have your best interest at heart.
Yep.
And if you're not around those people, find them.
Yeah.
They're there.
Hands down. There's not an episode, I think, that goes by that this topic doesn't get touched on. And I talk about the importance of the people you choose to keep around you. And especially like when I'm working with clients in the recovery industry or the recovery field, it's, we're talking about life or death. And so these people you choose to allow you, this is going to be a direct reflection of the path you're headed down. And so you better be sure that everybody that's on your team is helping you work towards that goal.
Yeah.
But I love what you're saying about following your passion, because there was a crossroads point for me when we got started with the podcast, where I was working with a company full time, and I had the opportunity to do this, and I had to kind of take a leap and do that. And people thought I was crazy, and people were saying, well, if you leave that, you should just start your own and do this. Why are you going to go do a podcast and all that? But I did, and I haven't looked back. And it's been one of the best things I've ever done in my life, because people see, your daughters see, like, you're following your passion. You show back up at home different. We wake up in the morning different. Like, you're pursuing something you're passionate about, as opposed to just going and clocking in and clocking out.
Absolutely. And I don't know what that looks like for me in the future. I could end up, back at another role, and I'm okay with that, right? Because I honestly, at the end of the day, love what I do. But this time in my life has given me a sense of a purpose, right? It really, really has, and has fueled me to come back even harder and faster, right? Understanding that no matter where I'm at, I could go back to work at McDonald's. I don't know. I have no idea, right? No matter where it is that I am, my goal is going to be to help someone else.
Yeah.
Right? And that's my mindset.
Right.
And so you don't have to have a job doing that. You can do that every day.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm doing it with my friends. The other day, one of my friends needed help with moving some slate. All right, I'll be there.
Right.
Right? I have a friend who needs help with the website. Okay, I got it. Right? Just doing little things like that is helping other people. It doesn't have to be this big, profound.
No, that's exactly what it is right there.
Right? This big thing. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to get paid for it. You don't have to do anything. It's a way of life.
Yeah. It
It's
could
a
be
lifestyle.
just saying good morning to somebody or holding the door for them. Like, you have no idea how that's going to affect people, but if you have those constant practices in life, good things happen.
Literally just this morning as we were walking in the building, I was walking in, I was focused, thinking about, okay, with this podcast and everything else, right? I'm walking in, there's a gentleman walking behind me, and I just literally did not hold the door open for him. And I was like walking, I was like, crap, why didn't I? Like, I just wasn't in my state of mind. So I get to the elevator's already opened, and I'm getting in, and I was like, wait, hold the elevator, there's one more guy coming.
Oh, there you go.
And so he walks in, and I was like, did I redeem myself? And he was like, you did. I'm not going to lie. The door kind of hurt me a little bit, So I was like, it was so funny.
That woman didn't do that for us this morning, did she? We had the exact same thing happen. We had like a big cart and everything, and she just walked right through the door and let it slam. We're like, all right. But no, it's funny how that we just talked about it and it happened.
Yeah, for sure. I want to ask you, through your journey and kind of your path, what tools, what helped you be able to overcome, right? Because you mentioned that I'm using a lot of the principles, that are used in recovery. I'm not going to lie, I did some research there as well. Of course, you're going to tap into what works.
I'll tell you, those are much cooler than the little coins they give us. So you might be onto something there in the recovery community.
Yeah.
But what tools?
Yeah, like what did you use to help you, achieve the change? Because that's a huge, life changing.
Yeah. I mean, number one was making sure that there was the right people around me. My stepfather would always say, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are. I never listened to it until I finally got older, and then woke up and was like, oh, should have been listening to that forever. And then the other thing was discovering something that I was passionate about. And at that time it was running and getting involved with races, and it just gave me this outlet and this avenue.
Changing, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, kind of harness and redirecting all the energy I was putting into getting high and putting it into something physical. That's what made a huge difference for me. I always, when I'm working with people, try to push them in that direction of doing something physical, because it taught me so much about myself. It taught me I was capable of far more than I ever was giving myself credit for. It taught me the type of perseverance that I have, that I'm capable of, the stuff that I'm actually able to overcome. And then you start going and like overcoming some of these ultra marathons or, races of this magnitude, and then you hit, speed bumps throughout the day in your daily life, and you're like, oh, this isn't shit. Like, I just ran 100 miles last weekend. Like, what is that? I'd say those are the biggest things.
So replacement really is kind of replacing your actions, because that's a lot of part about, habit changing, right? And
Right.
So, for me, with the wine, for example, right, it was a ritual,
Yeah.
right? No matter what, like I said, if I had a good day or a bad day, right? And what I'm learning now is how do I replace that?
Yeah.
Right? And so at the end of the day, I still go through the ritual of, like, I'm having a glass of wine, right? It's just sparkling water
Right.
in this case, right? And I'm finding that serves the same purpose. And you know what? The next day I feel great.
Right.
Right. So it's kind of like that replacement of the habit that you're trying to change.
Yeah.
You know. So.
And the answer I'm giving you isn't the traditional 12-step answer. There's probably 12-step people that have heard me say that and they're like, oh, like obviously like a belief in a higher power comes in to play. That was the thing. Admitting I had an issue in the first place was a big thing. And I'd say the overarching goal is just staying out of self. Because I was so egotistical and so selfish in addiction that now I see it all the time and I'm just constantly aware of it and just keep myself on the polar opposite of it. So as long as I keep myself helping people every day, that keeps me out of self and good things happen.
Well, I mean, I commend you because one of the things that I've even noticed in the short time that I've been doing this is that there's a lot of the stigma, a lot of shame. Mm-hmm. Right, that comes from talking about specifically your bad habits or your lack of being able to achieve something, right? So a lot of women, obviously, that I speak with, it's, oh, I want to lose weight or I want to be healthier, but they're ashamed to talk about it. So one of the things we've done is we created a little card. When you get the kit, you get this little card, and on the little card, it asks you to write what your intention is. Okay. Write it down. Look at it, right? Because when you put it to paper, right, it becomes more real. And then we ask people to post it. And the posting is very minimal. And I think that's because of the shame that comes with it, right? Or what if I don't do it, right? What if I say I'm going to do this and now there's this sense of accountability, right? What do you say about that? Like, you know, I mean, you're so open and honest with it, and it's just, it's commendable. It really, really is.
I just gave a talk earlier this week, and the whole point of it was about breaking the stigma. It's funny, it's not funny, but you know, I go to these places and I speak, and you know, oftentimes the crowds that I'm speaking to aren't even recovery community, but so many people afterwards will come up to me and tell me that their personal experience, they had a son, daughter, brother, wife, whatever, grandfather, whatever it was, who suffered, or even them, and that's what started showing me, like, because we in the recovery community, we're so used to talking about our stuff. We sit in circles all the time. We're in treatment. We're constantly talking about our stuff. So for me, it was never a hard transition for me to do that out into the community. But that's what taught me that we in the recovery community are used to this, but people outside aren't. And so that's why there's this stigma that I could sit in a room full of addicts and every one of them will tell you, like, yeah, we were our family's biggest kept secret. Nobody wanted us to know. Nobody wanted anybody to know that we were messed up or using or anything like that, because everybody's ashamed. But I could stand in front of 500 people that aren't even in recovery, and I guarantee almost every one of them out there is either related to or has somebody very close to them who suffers from addiction. And so it's just getting out there and trying to empower people to get them to understand where it could be addiction, sexual trauma, mental health, whatever, but we all have this life experience. We've all been through it. And if you've been lucky enough to get on the other side, you have the ability to use that experience to go help people. And so that's made all the difference in the world to me. All the people that I know that have been through the stuff that we've been through are thriving because that's what they're doing. And so just getting people to understand that. And we did something called the In a Minute Challenge about a month and a half ago. And the goal was just getting people to understand that, like, you could literally change your life in a minute. It could be for the good or it could be for bad. And so what are you going to do with this minute? And so we did some fitness challenges and all that stuff, and I was getting people to post about it, and we got quite a few people, but there were so many people that wrote me that wanted to do it but were afraid to post about it. Yeah. And so it's just, then I would sit there and talk with them. It's like, what I learned when I got into the fitness industry was, like, what kept me away from the gym for the longest time was I didn't want to go in there and feel like I looked stupid. I didn't want people to see that I didn't know what I was doing.
Am I on the machine backwards?
Right. But I started noticing that's everybody. Yeah. Everybody was there at one point or another. Sure. And so they might look at you or me and they see us go to the gym every day and they're like, well, that never happened. Well, no, that definitely happened to me. I just got my heart broken, so that was the kick in the ass I needed to get into the gym and go figure it out. And so what's the kick in the ass I can give to all these people to get them to start doing it? And then they think doing a post, like we were talking before the podcast, like everybody's going to be analyzing all this stuff about us. Nobody's looking at that. They're listening to the message.
They are. But, going back to social, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest problems that we have with being real right now, right? Is everything is fake.
Yes.
Everything's, everybody posts about how great life is, but nobody posts
The
about
vulnerability.
the struggles and the realness. And it's funny, as I started posting, because I started posting about this kind of stuff before I even launched the store. I had several people DM me, "Are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm great."
Right.
Like, I'm just being honest and being vulnerable and being okay with not being okay.
Right.
And everybody worried about me.
Yeah.
Right. And which is great. And I appreciate the worry. But I'm like, I'm fine. I promise you. I'm just talking about the things that nobody wants to talk about.
Exactly. And that's what comes through on the podcast, on the posts we do, on everything, even the posts where I'm holding the phone. Like, the more you can get vulnerable, the more real it is to people, the more people identify with that. And so it's funny, like, people don't look to me for running a 100-mile race or because I had a podcast. It's because I've been vulnerable and tell them about all my fuck ups, or I've been to prison, or I relapsed, or whatever it was. That's what people identify with, not the bigger stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that.
Of course. If people want to check out the bracelets, where do they check them out at?
So we have a website. It's breakyourloop.com.
All right.
So, they're called loops, and it's all about your habit loop and how to break and change those habits. So you can get it there. They come in 3 different colors. My daughters named them.
Oh, did they?
Galaxy,
Okay.
metals, and carbon.
Love it.
Very cool,
Love
right?
it.
Very cool. And
Those are really good. Okay, daughters, good job.
they're coming into the family business.
Those are very good names for those.
Thank you. And there's everything on all the information on that site about how to take care of them, how to get them, and then also how to be a part of the community, because we really do want to build a community. We really do. That's my future goal, is that I'm not just selling bracelets. That's not what this is about. This is, yes, it's a cool, stylish way to be able to track your goals, but really what we want to do is provide hope, provide change, provide community, provide support. Right. It's just, these aren't just bracelets, and that's one thing that I want people to take away, from this. But we do have an Instagram and a Facebook as well. It's break.your.loop on both, to where you can kind of come in and be a part, hopefully, of the community and help support and encourage each other.
Yeah.
As women, I just think that we have so much inside of us that is untapped and unfulfilled, and we can be there for each other and provide that space, that we need to be able to achieve our goals.
All right. So when people want to look up the bracelets, how much is a kit, and what comes in a kit?
Yeah. So a kit is $49, and it comes with 33 bracelets. I usually throw in a few extras just in case. So it's 30 single bracelets and then 3 milestone bracelets. And then I usually throw in, like I said, a few extras just in case. The bracelets do come apart. Like I said, they're guitar string, they're springy, and they're based off of, the principles of habit formation, right? Make it simple, make it easy, make it stylish, right? Right? So, but they do come apart, and then you just kind of screw it back together. They are water resistant, but not waterproof. I wear mine all the time, just simply because it's part of me, and I don't really ever take them off. But you can kind of, wear them on and off. And I wouldn't recommend going swimming with them or anything like that, but they are water resistant.
I think maybe I should buy a couple of these. Maybe we should do a giveaway with them. What do you think?
I'd love that.
Think?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Right.
That'd be great. And, and then I'd love to hear their story.
Okay.
How they're using it. That's the best part about it, is hearing how, even, like I said, my daughter, she's 21 years old, and I gave her a kit, and at first she wasn't wearing it. And she's like, I don't know what to do. Like, she was all stressed out about, what do I do with this thing? Like, what am I going to change? What habit am I going to, like, really thinking hard about it. And I was like, babe, it's not that complicated.
Yeah.
Like, tell me one thing you want to do. Like, if you had all the time in the world, what could you do today? She's like, I want to learn more about God. Okay, here's a devotional. I gave her a devotional book. I said, read 1 page every day. 1 page. And put on a bracelet. Right. That's it. It doesn't have to be anything exhaustive. And she's wearing them. And she even sent me a little text. She's like, Mom, these actually do work. These are so cool. So it's something small. But hearing those messages back and sharing them with other people, so that then they can be like, okay, I don't have to run a marathon. Right. I can start by walking a lap around my neighborhood.
It's exactly what I say every day to all the people that I work with. It's not about making this big, grandiose change, small, lasting changes. That's what sticks. And so the metaphor that I always use with people is coffee. So coffee is where I started. That's literally the first place I started changing everything. And
You don't drink coffee?
No, I definitely drink
Oh,
coffee.
I was
No,
like,
but
oh, we can't be friends.
No, my coffee's right there. At one point in my life, the coffee, I had so much cream and so much sugar in my coffee that a spoon would stand straight up, right? And so I was in treatment and I'm getting sober and I'd started running and was getting healthier. And I know myself well enough to know, like, I'm an addict, right? So for me to sit here and be like, all right, I'm done with sugar completely, taking it out of my diet, like, that's not practical. Mm-hmm. Sugar's in everything. Mm-hmm. You know, it's going to be very hard to go from one extreme to the other. And so where I started was my coffee. And so I started with no sugar in my coffee, just flavored creamer. And I remember for like 2 weeks I did that and it sucked and I hated the taste of it. And then after 2 weeks I was used to it and I was like, all right, now let me try it with no creamer. And so then I did that for 2 weeks, didn't like it, couldn't stand the taste of black coffee. Now I couldn't imagine drinking my coffee any other way than black. But that's what I used, because people will think like, oh, I got to lose weight, I got to start going to the gym, I got to run. Like, you're getting way ahead of yourself. Mm-hmm. Let's make small lasting changes. Mm-hmm. Let's just get up and walk today. Yep. Just one walk, one lap around the block, just to the mailbox and back.
Right.
It could be that simple. And so like you start breaking down all these big problems you have in your life with just that next little simple thing. And that's the perfect way for you to be able to keep track of those is the bracelet.
Yeah. We call them micro habits, right?
Micro habits. Ooh, look, I like it.
Yeah, those little tiny things that you can do. And then once you kind of start doing those little habits, they form bigger habits, right? Yep. And so it doesn't have to be this big daunting thing. And I talk about all that on my Instagram. I try to post once a week and post some sort of tips and motivational encouragement, for kind of breaking these habits that we have or creating the new ones. And did you know, by the way, that by the time you are 35 years old, if anybody's 35, which most of us are, I'm 36. No, I'm just kidding. If you are over 35 years old, most of the habits that you have are done out of your subconscious.
Really?
You're unaware that you're actually doing these things. You're just going through your day, your daily routine, right? And so it takes a lot of effort to actually change those things.
Right.
Now, if you're younger than 35, there's a lot of hope for you. Yeah. But for over 35, you have to put some thought into it, and you have to take some small steps to kind of get you there.
So let me ask you, maybe if you have. Do you have a couple of examples of maybe people that have purchased, you don't have to name their names, but maybe a little bit of their story of like what they use the bracelets for? And then do you have maybe a couple of where you see them being able to be used where they maybe haven't been able to be used yet?
Yeah. So the ones that I have so far, like I said, we're at the very beginning, have been they're all little small things. They're all small changes. Praying has been a really, really big one every day, small things. Mm-hmm. I have a friend who is devoted to reading a book, and so she reads a page out of her book every day. Little small things is what we encourage. Mm-hmm. Working out, obviously, is a big one for everybody. Do more cardio. Yeah. Go to the gym. Actually, go to the gym, I think is another big one that we see. But it can be applied in so many different ways. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be anything ginormous. I do have a list on our site as well of, all these different use cases for it. It could be one girl is doing it for not biting her nails. Like,
I'm gonna get these for my wife then for sure.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, because we all have those habits, right? And so you have to just really think about what it is. Mm-hmm. And what's cool about it is that it's here staring at you in the face all day long, right? And so there'll be times that I'm like, I want that glass of wine. And then I'm like, oh, should I not? And so...
It's like an accountability partner that's always with you.
We call them cheerleaders.
There you go.
We call them little wrist cheerleaders. We've got all kinds of fun names for them, but yeah, they really are your accountability partner right on your wrist.
So are you looking to get these in stores eventually, or just online? What's the? Yeah. I know we're not going to talk about 5 or 10 year plans. But
Please no.
In a perfect world, where do you see it going? Where would you like to see it?
Oh gosh, it's funny because I'm not, like I mentioned earlier, we're not in the jewelry business, right? Mm-hmm. But if they can reach someone through a jewelry shop, hell yeah. right? I even thought about what organizations can we partner with, right? There are people that are doing things already that kind of call for these types of tools. I've reached out to a couple of them. I haven't heard anything back yet. I just reached out last week, but to see if there's a partnership with them. I did apply for a patent on them, so I do have a patent pending on them. But the thought of it reaching as many people as possible is what I care about, not necessarily the distribution method. So
I think we need to get you on Shark Tank. And just remember, she was here on this podcast before Shark Tank.
Shark Tank, they're definitely sharks. They're looking for the bottom line of the finances,
right?
And that's not the intent of this,
right?
If it makes money, great. Right. If it provides something for my daughters in the future, wonderful. But that's not really the intent or the end goal of it. So I'm willing to, kind of get it wherever it needs to go. Mm-hmm. So if you have ideas, by all means, please let me know.
All right, we can do that.
Yeah.
I think they're great, and it's positive, it's reinforcing, and it could help so many people. Recovery community people, regular normie people just trying to lose weight, get healthy, whatever. There's so many things that you use it for.
Absolutely. None of us are perfect. We have to. That's where we need to start, right? Yeah. Is admitting, what it is that we want to change about ourselves and being okay.
Yeah. So what does fitness look like for you? Like, what's your gym style? Do you run? Like, what all do you do?
Not unless somebody's chasing me.
Okay. That's most people's answer.
So right now, it's a lot harder for me, right? Because there's so many movements that I can't do. Mm-hmm. Before I was the gym rat, I was hardcore there every single day, lifting as much weight as possible, usually free weights, barbell work, everything like that. And now I'm kind of doing the old traditional workouts at the gym. They're super boring, mm-hmm. But I'm still going,
So it's hard for you to, like, hinge or do anything bent over?
I can't hinge. I can't. In fact, I tried deadlifting last week. I know. I went light. Because I miss it so much.
Barbell or trap bar?
Barbell.
If you're going to do it, you got to use a trap bar. No.
I don't think I've ever used a trap bar, honestly.
It would be way better on your back.
Really?
If you're going to, as a trainer, that's what I would tell you to do. But unless you're getting ready to, like, try to go back to compete, and I would say I would not, if I was your trainer, I would not program back squats or probably traditional deadlifts.
Deadlifts and back squats are my two favorites, right? And so I've been improvising, doing a lot of just, kind of cross-training stuff, lightweight, dumbbells, and then, of course, the good old machines.
Do you know who Mark Ripito is?
I do.
You do? So if you listen to his stuff or read his stuff, he would say that that's exactly what you should be doing is deadlifting and squatting, but very light, very slow, very controlled and all that. But that's what most people stay away from if they have bad lower back injuries. But I definitely do it. I would do it with somebody, like with a coach that's making sure that even when you're tired that you're still staying in safe ranges of motion and form and everything. Yeah,
my doctor said don't hinge ever again.
But see, does your doctor lift weights?
No.
See?
He does. He said for the rest of your life, when you even drop something, you need to bend. Always bend with your knees. Do not hinge, And a lot of the exercises, in fact, just yesterday I was at the gym on one of the stupid arm machines, and I saw this guy, and he was doing thrusters, and I was so jealous. I was just like, oh, look at that. Like, I wish I could do that.
Have you thought about going to a sports doctor at all?
No.
Because a lot of time they'll give you favorable answers as opposed to a regular doctor, just because they work with athletes and they understand that, like, even if a doctor told me I can't lift anymore, I'm still going to find a way to do it.
Right.
And so I'd rather find somebody that's going to help me do it. All right, if you're going to do it, we're going to help you do it in the safest way possible. So that might be an outlet, or it might be a...
I tried doing some hot yoga and Pilates. I was doing that for a little while, and that did help my core substantially. But I got bored with it. I get bored really easily. I'm
going to try Pilates.
Yeah.
I keep hearing how great it is, and I know it's not easy.
I was doing them in the hot room.
Really?
So 100 degrees.
And Pilates. I didn't know they do hot Pilates.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
Yeah. Burpees in there.
Oh, I didn't know. They do burpees in Pilates?
They do burpees in there. Yeah.
I don't know about all that.
So I'm giving a plug to a place here. It's called the Union. And they have, like, they have a pretty big gym. They have all kinds of different things. They have hot yoga and they have Pilates and they have even CrossFit type workouts and stuff like that. So it's kind of their own thing.
Right.
But it's hard. It's humbling.
All right, when are we going?
Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Next time I'm down here, let's go to a...
All right,
you're going to show me hot Pilates for the first time.
I like it.
And I want to do hot yoga too, but...
I did that for a long time. It's hard.
It's
mental too.
Yeah. Do you do sauna, cold plunge, any of that type of stuff?
I have, but not on a regular basis, no.
I wonder what that would do for your back.
I mean, I love my heating pad.
Yeah. Do all women love heating pads?
I think so.
Is it?
My puppies like them too.
Yeah, the animals love them too. That's why, the cats and the dogs will surround themselves around my wife like she's the animal whisperer anytime she's got a heating pad. It's cheating. That's why she gets all the attention, because of the heating pad. I just realized it. But,
that's great.
So, you're here in San Antonio?
I am.
Do you, is your Instagram handle the same as the company's?
It's not, but you can find me through it. But I'm active on both. So,
okay.
Try to keep it separate.
There you go. Well, if there's what am I trying to say? If there's ever any way that I can help, please let me know. I'd love to.
I appreciate it. And I really appreciate you having me on, and kind of what you do and what you stand for, and how you bring everybody together. I've been hearing great things about you, and
good.
It's
whoever you're talking to, keep talking.
It's all true.
Good. Thank you. So I got a question to ask you. It's kind of a fun one. It's my favorite question to ask everybody, right? So if you were walking out tonight for the Women's World Championship in the UFC, and you're walking out to the ring or the octagon, what's your fight song? What's that one song that gets you motivated like no other? Or let's say you're going to go do your
Eye of the Tiger.
Eye of the Tiger?
Yeah.
Great one.
Yeah.
Is that really it?
It really is.
Let's go.
I can do anything if I have that song on. It doesn't matter what it is.
My my wife had never seen any of the Rockies, and so within the past couple of months, we had to have a watch party and watch all the Rockies. And then she trashed Rocky afterwards, like it wasn't any good.
What?
Yeah. And I noticed Adrian makes me cry. In like every movie, she has like one super powerful scene in every movie, and I'll sit there and be tearing up like a little kid. I don't know. Adrian hits home for me.
What's your fight song?
Oh, it changes. What's my fight song now?
Now I want to hear that song. Can somebody play it, please?
Well, we get taken. We'll put it as we'll put a version as the theme to a post or something for the Eye of the Tiger. What would my fight song be right now? I'm a big hip hop head, so it's gonna be it's gonna be rap of some sort.
Okay, I probably don't know it then.
All right, let me think of one you'll know. I think the last one I gave, the last time somebody asked me this question was House of Pain, Jump Around.
Okay.
Just can you imagine how hype everybody is when you're walking into that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't think of a good creative one right now.
It's amazing what music can do for you, right?
Oh my God.
It's another part of, if when you're feeling down or anything like that, that's one of the things I do at my house, and I post about it. There's videos on it, but turn on the music really loud and just start dancing.
Yeah.
It changes your entire day.
Yeah.
It really
music
is.
Music is very therapeutic for me. I've always have you ever seen the movie White Man Can't Jump?
I have a long time ago.
So do you remember when they're in the car, and so there's a scene where Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes are in the car and they're going back and forth and they're listening to Jimi Hendrix.
Okay.
And Wesley Snipes is basically telling Woody Harrelson that he hears it, but he doesn't actually listen. That was the gist of it. Like, he can listen to it, but he doesn't hear it. Mm-hmm. And so, when I listen to music, I focus in really hard on the lyrics and, the metaphors and what they're saying, and, think about it to a deeper degree than I think most people do. Mm-hmm. So music hits me very hard and, very emotionally. I definitely have songs that bring that out. Do you know who NF is?
No, I don't think so. Maybe.
So NF started as
I have a horrible memory, by the way.
Okay, so do I. NF I think he started off as a Christian rapper, but you wouldn't ever be able to tell. But he's really, really good at rapping. So probably I've been listening to a lot of his stuff lately. Now that I've been back in the God scene.
Yeah.
So probably one of his songs for sure.
Do you live here in San Antonio?
No, I flip flop. So I live in just south of Austin.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you're going to church in Austin?
Yes,
Okay.
just south of Austin. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it was crazy how it happened. I, for whatever, was feeling this pull back towards going to church and all that. And I talked to a buddy of mine, and he had been kind of feeling the same way, and he had just had a daughter within the past year, and so he wanted her to grow up in the church and all that. So we decided to go, and I went and I spoke to we went to church, and it felt like that day the message was aimed directly at me. It was one of those things.
So cool how that happens.
And so I kind of had this moment where, there's a lot of people in the recovery community that will fall into the practice of going to meetings but not participating in meetings. They go and they listen, and then they'll leave and be like, well, I'm not getting anything out of it. Well, you never share, you're not sponsoring anybody, you're not helping people and all that. So I kind of took that same mentality when we went into church and was like, am I just going to be at church, or am I going to take part in church? And so I went up afterwards and talked with the pastor, and saw if he was going to be available at some point to like have coffee or lunch. And so we got coffee or lunch, and we sat down, and it was the week of Easter, and I was talking to him just a little bit about myself and all that. And then he stopped, and he was like, Shawn, he's like, I got to be honest with you, for the past couple months, every sermon that I've been delivering has been kind of gearing up towards Easter. And he's like, for whatever reason, this past week, I've been getting this message from God that I'm not supposed to be the one to deliver the sermon. And I was like, oh. And he's like, I know why. And he goes, would you be willing to speak at church on Easter Sunday?
Wow.
And I was like, really? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so I spoke at all 4 of the services, and I went home and I told my wife about it. I was all excited that he had asked me, and I was like, babe, he wants me to speak on Easter. And she's like, oh, cool. And I'm like, no, like, you don't get it. Like,
that's the Super Bowl of
Easter's
churches.
the biggest day. This dude's met me once, and he wants me to, share to his whole congregation and all that. So that was a big sign for me that I'm in the right place, and
That's amazing.
doing all
Good
that.
for
And so,
you.
yeah.
That's great. That's great.
It's been cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
And I'll be honest, I love the fact that you're willing to come on here publicly and talk, you know what I mean? Talk about that, because that's been a big thing for me is, there's, everybody has their own relationship with God or whatever it is and all that. And, there's people out there that they can that's all they do, all they talk about it. And it's almost like they want to force it on you, which that will turn me off. And so I always am cautious of like how I talk about it, or I don't want to push people away. So I just talk about my experience on it. But a lot of people aren't willing to talk about it openly and all that because they fear of what other people think. And I've been going through that myself. It's like, how much do I talk about this publicly? Because I don't ever want it to, to dilute the message of what I'm trying to help people or turn people off because they have different views or beliefs or anything like that.
That's crazy. I'm actually, so I used to work at a church a long time ago. I've been a Christian since I was in my 20s, and I worked at a church for like 7 years.
Okay.
And when I've been going through all this, one of the things I've done is I want to serve, right? I'm like, hey, I have all this extra time on my hands, so what can I be doing? So I've reached out to a bunch of my old friends. I'm like, what can I do to help? And so I've been serving at all these different churches. I built beds a couple of weeks ago, and I've been doing all these different cool things. But one of the ones is an old pastor of mine. I reached out to him, and of course I was like, what can I do to help? And he gave me a list of like 10, 15 different things that I could do. One of them was helping him with his website and helping him with a book that he has about how to talk about Christianity. So I'll get you a copy.
Okay, please.
I'll get you a copy. We're getting ready to go to reprint on it. And I'm helping him with, just kind of the design aspect of it. But it speaks exactly to that.
Okay, great.
When and how to approach.
Right.
So.
See?
Yeah.
Look at that. I love it.
I love it.
Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on today. It's an absolute pleasure. Anything we could ever do to help you. Last, please, if you want to throw it out, the name of the product and where they can get a hold of it.
Yeah.
Or anything?
So the bracelets are called loops, and you can get them at breakyourloop.com. And follow us on Instagram, share your stories, and we want to build a community and really help empower each other. So thank you, and thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
So the way we like to wrap up the episode is they've kind of heard your story, they know what you're all about, but I'd like them to get to know you a little bit more. And so if you'd be willing to take a look into your camera and maybe throw out a couple I am statements that kind of explain who you are. So it could be, I am strong, I am loved, I'm a mother, whatever version of that you want.
Well, I do those on a regular basis, right? So I have my long list of affirmations, so cut me off. But my favorite ones is I am presence, I am greatness, I am the daughter of a king.
Let's go. Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.